Hello and welcome everyone. I'm Patricia Kingston. I'm the Corporate Events Officer at Tourism NI, and I'm delighted that so many of you are joining us for this afternoon's webinar session. This is the second in our industry information webinars in preparation of the 153rd Open Championship, which is taking place next summer at Royal Portrush. So we're delighted to have so many industry signed up for the session, and we have a busy lineup for you over the next hour to 90 minutes max. We'll try and get you away as sharp as we can. So first up, we're going to be hearing from Tourism NI Head of Events, Siobhan McGuigan, who'll be giving us a welcome and setting the scene for the session. And then we'll be joined by Tourism NI Industry Development Manager, Carolyn Boyd, who's going to be introducing the new toolkit, which has been developed to help you all get open ready. So Carolyn will also be taking a look at a couple of the areas of the toolkit around both customer service and collaboration. Following Carolyn, we'll be getting some advice and top tips on creating a memorable stay from our accommodation certification manager, Claire McNaughton. And next up, we'll hear from Tourism NI's Golf Marketing Manager, George Diamandis. He'll be sharing some details on the golf visitor to Northern Ireland, both for the 153rd Open and also beyond. We'll then be joined by Carmel Scott from our design agency, TBWA. He'll be sharing an overview of the various marketing assets available for you to use in the run-up to the Open. And finally, jam-packed session, we're going to be joined today by Johnny McCarran, who is the Open Championship Project Manager at Causeway Coast and Glensborough Council, and he's going to be giving us a quick update on council activity in relation to the Open. So if you have any questions for any of our speakers during today's session, just pop them into the question box at any time during the presentations, and we'll pick up as many of those as we can at the end. So lots and lots to cover today. I'm not going to take up any more time. It's my absolute pleasure at this stage to introduce Tourism NI Head of Events, Siobhan McGuigan, to kick us off today. So good afternoon, Siobhan, and over to you.
Thank you very much, Patricia. That was great, and I think it's exciting to see how much we have to say about the Open coming back this July. I'm absolutely delighted to have you all on this webinar this afternoon. I'm Siobhan McGuigan, I'm Head of Events with Tourism NI, and again, we do really appreciate the time that you've taken out of your busy schedule to join us. Myself and my colleagues are here to give you an overview of all the huge range of opportunities that hosting the Open in July 2025 brings to us all here in Northern Ireland, including an introduction to our newly launched toolkit, which hopefully will be really of a huge amount of help to you over the coming weeks and months. The return of the Open is a great opportunity to provide a shop window to Causeway Coast and also, of course, to Northern Ireland as a place to live, work, invest, and, of course, visit. Looking back to 2019, I think it's no surprise to any of us that it was a great success for the RNA and for Northern Ireland. It delivered right across the board, and 2025 is actually set to be possibly bigger and better than 2019. In 2019, the combined economic and media benefit delivered was over £100 million, generated by 237,700 odd visitors, and it was the first ever Open outside St Andrews. It was first ever Open held outside St Andrews in the first ever championship to sell out. So that was a great accolade for Northern Ireland. And it's been really wonderful to hear over the last number of months working with the RNA, working so closely with them, how they feel that Northern Ireland has welcomed them and what it can bring to the Open. They referred to the atmosphere in 2019 as truly magical, and I think there's no doubt that that magical atmosphere will continue to be experienced as we move towards hosting again this July. There was a huge global reach, of course, as well, with a massive amount of media and global impact broadcast to over 500 million households across 150 countries. That's phenomenal whenever you think of the people that are sitting at home and watching the Causeway Coast and looking at Northern Ireland. And then, of course, for ourselves, really starting to plan and get excited about coming to visit here. It has developed so much, or it offered in 2019 so much for ourselves that we really hope that we will continue to build on. A really important statistic that we keep referring to is that 83% of visitors said that they were more likely to visit Causeway Coast and Northern Ireland in the next 2 years as a result of attending the Open in 2019. That alone just shows what an opportunity it is for us. We want people to come here, be excited, feel really welcomed, and want to come back. This is about garnering that longer term opportunity. In terms of golf tourism as well, my colleague George will be on later on, and he'll tell you about the massive impact it's had, and it helped contribute to golf tourism. With I won't take away from the stats that he will be able to announce, but we're just building on those golf tourism opportunities and the statistics and what we can deliver. 153rd Open in July 2025 is looking to be even better, very much focusing on the quality of experience for our visitors and players, which is vitally important because, of course, they have huge social media reach, and we're always very conscious of making sure that everything they communicate is really positive. But we want people here as well to be proud to host the Open and proud to be from Northern Ireland and to welcome people back again. It's really important to say, and I think this message will come across again, time and time again throughout this webinar, this isn't just about the event week, and we have to think longer term and more broadly. It's about the weeks beyond. It's really important for ourselves and for everyone across the industry that we extend the season, and we harness every opportunity that we can to extend that season for visitors to learn about what a fantastic range of experiences there are in Northern Ireland and want to come back here. As I said earlier, this is a shop window for us, and we want people to keep coming back and back and back to that shop. And remember too, of course, it's not just about the golf spectators and the championship spectators that come along. It's about their families. They may not all be attending the Open. So we need to make sure that we have a great experience on offer for them, and that we encourage them to get out and about and explore. And of course, you'll be aware, I'm sure, that the ballot system this year, the ticketing system is different with the ballot system this year. So not everyone, and really not many spectators will get consecutive days and get their tickets on consecutive days. So what we really want to do is make sure that we provide information and opportunities for them to stay here during those interim days and explore and spend their money and really experience all that we have to offer. Another really key point is not just to consider the spectators and the players, of course, that are coming along. There's a huge amount of staff and contractors involved in delivering this event. It's when you think about what's involved, it really is phenomenal. There's a large number of contractors that will start the build in April, so that's not too far away. And from there on, there's an ever-growing number of contractors on site, staying in our accommodation, eating in our cafes and restaurants, experiencing shopping in our shops and experiencing all that we have here. And that's really important. They're a really sound and good opportunity for ourselves, and they stay till a number of weeks after the event for takedown. So I think we have to just continue to remember that there are those opportunities too. It isn't just about that event week. For us as well, we have been working really closely for a number of months now with the RNA and its primary contractors, such as the contractors that deliver the catering and hospitality, security, and all sorts of build elements as well. We've been working with them to make sure that we can help support them recruit from the local Northern Ireland job market and provide those opportunities and provide roles for our local people. There are about 5,000 job opportunities available, with the majority, about 3,000 of them will be casual workforce from the local area. There's not actually that many really that are brought in. Sometimes some of the staff they have worked with across a number of championships and so do bring them along. But in reality, they really want to use local people. It's been feedback from the RNA. They love the chat, they love the warmth, the passion, the friendliness of our local staff. So they consider it a real win for them as well whenever they can get our local people involved in helping deliver this experience. We're also working across the whole supply chain with the RNA and its contractors too, to make sure that opportunities to showcase our local food and drink and local products are harnessed as well. So, as I said, there's lots of opportunities for the local industry to maximise on the return of the Open and to ensure that we think longer term about it and encourage our visitors to come back, have a great experience, and want to come back again and again and again and tell everybody else about it. You'll hear over the coming number of minutes updates from my colleagues on the toolkits that we've developed and on how you can really help to maximise on these opportunities. So again, thank you so much for joining us today. And I'm now going to hand you over to Carolyn Boyd, our Industry Development Manager, who will talk you through our industry toolkit that we've developed and is hot off the press and will be a really critical tool for you all in the coming weeks and months. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Siobhan. Good afternoon, everybody. It's great to see so many of you here, and it was great to see quite a few people up in Portrush Town Hall last week. We're just getting the numbers compiled in there, so it's really happening, folks. And if you can just put the next slide up, we have produced a toolkit, as Siobhan said, and just to thank everybody because it was a task pulling this all together. And just to emphasize, this is a digital toolkit, so it is a live document and will be updated in real time as we get information in. So when you're seeing links in this document about anything, you might just want to check. So what I'm kind of saying is don't be downloading a version because that version will not be the up-to-date version. So it'd be great if you can keep a live link and keep checking in with it. So just a thank you on the toolkit because I'm going to just touch on collaboration because none of us can make this event happen in isolation. So we just need to all pull together. And the toolkit was a great example of everybody coming together right across our own team in TNI to make it happen, but working with the Causeway Coast and Glens, working with the RNA, working with industry to help us shape this, and also working across things like the Chambers of Commerce, which we talked to across the piece. So in the toolkit, what you'll find is there's quite a number of areas. So if you want to just move the slide on so you can be totally overwhelmed by the contents. So in there, we're not going to go into the minutiae today, but we are going to touch on some of that because actually there is so much in it that you'd really need to have a good look through it. So I just wanted to focus on the toolkit, which is about the welcome today and the need for collaboration, and touch on maybe the job opportunities, as Siobhan had said. So you can have all the contents there. Maybe you could just move on to the next slide for me. Great, thank you. So customer service, well, anybody knows me and knows the team. We know we kind of like to champion the customer service right across Northern Ireland, but it obviously is a collective responsibility, and our brand is all about the giant welcome, and the giant welcome within it has being big-hearted, and big-hearted is all about being yourselves, being authentic, but also looking at all the touch points to make sure that you in your business, the welcome starts with your website. So obviously make sure it's up to date. If you have any opportunities, and we'll hear a bit later about any opportunities to highlight the golf, any opportunities to talk about the golf. It may not be something you're really interested in, but it is what your visitor is going to be interested in at this time. So again, it's just about keeping up to date with what's going on in the local area, and also collaboration, because if you're fully booked, if your accommodation, for example, and you're fully booked, you might need to know how to signpost someone in your area and hope that somebody is signposting the business back to you as well. So I think you do this very, very well across Northern Ireland, but it might be just the time to make sure that you've got all the collaborations in place there. If you want to move on again, thank you. So again, the people that we were asking to collaborate, and we've got a lot of links in here, are the Chamber of Commerce. They're a great source of what's happening locally. Obviously the Causeway Coast and Glens, we're going to hear later about what's happening in the area. But again, just to reiterate that mostly the numbers that Siobhan's talked about coming here, we can't do it in isolation. So if you're not reaching out and talking to people in the area, I would just encourage you to do so. And maybe the people that you normally deal with, you might just need to reach a bit further just to see if there's other people that you can talk about. We don't want to lose business out of the area, so it would be great just to make sure that we're all on point there. And then the next slide, please. So being big-hearted, we actually have, as Siobhan was saying about, there's lots of jobs across the piece as well. So we know that you might have a lot of new staff coming into your business. And one of the things that we've been working on is being big-hearted, a customer service training program, and it is a level 2 accredited program. So it covers a lot of things about making sure that you're welcome and that you are open ready. And there's lots of more things you'll hear about today on this webinar to help you do that. But we have some courses that we've been working on across the colleges in Northern Ireland, and it's a great collaboration excuse to make sure we're delivering a course in 3 different colleges. And if you want to just bring up the next slide, it'll have the details there. So these are open to sign up now, so you can actually go on to rtni.com, and any doubt, if you just search these courses, we've got 2 happening in Stormont, as you can see. We have 3 across the Causeway and into Port Stewart, and then we've got 3 in the Millennium Forum. So anybody that is interested in those can go into the link there. It's Get Open Ready, click on there, few steps, and you'll go through it. We'll ask you a few questions about, you have to be working in tourism for these courses. And also, just to say, you might think, well, I maybe did a level 2 or I'm quite good at my customer service, but if you are getting some new staff, or if there's staff that have been with you that could do with a wee refresher, then we would be delighted. There are limited places on those, but we hope that you'll all jump and to the opportunity there. Just a touch on, I suppose, the other thing about the job opportunities that Siobhan mentioned, there is a site specific for the Open on tni.com, and it will link through to Absolute Taste. Absolute Taste are open for recruitment at the minute, and there are lots of opportunities. They're going to have assessment centres as well set up in May. So apply now and then wait for an assessment. So that might be great for anybody, open to young and old alike. Anybody that's looking has got an opportunity to get a job. There are security related jobs through G4S, and again, it's an RNA opportunity. So everything is up there on tourismni.com. I think that's me, and I covered most things today, but we're going to stay on. I'm going to be here at the end for any questions or anything specific that I've touched on. And just to hand, oh yes, sorry, thank you for reminding me. We have actually just commissioned a course which is in development. It's online. We have an e-learning platform called My Tourism NI, and if you go through there, you can access it through tni.com. There's a little drop-down menu to the right, and so anybody that registered for this webinar will probably know this site. So it's just to go back in there. What we're going to do is we're going to put the toolkit into a little course, so you can get a badge that says you are open ready. So if you have invested in reading it, why not go through there, and you can take a little quiz and get a badge which you can display digitally. You can we're working on displaying on LinkedIn, etc. So we hope you'll jump in on that, and that's a bit of fun. And a colleague of mine will obviously pick up on how you can get open ready in lots of different ways. But I would like to hand over now to my colleague Claire McNaughton, and Claire heads up our quality and standards team. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Carolyn. Good afternoon, everybody. Today I'm going to recap on certification legislation and then cover ways in which accommodation providers can extend a giant welcome to guests. And that really begins once your booking is confirmed and right through to after guests leave. So I did cover the certification process and requirements in detail on our last webinar, and that is still available to view online. Today I'm just going to give a recap on the tourism order and how to apply for certification. So tourism legislation mandates that all visitor accommodations in Northern Ireland must be certified by Tourism NI, even if they're only being let on an ad hoc basis. So it is a legal requirement, and it ensures that all providers comply with relevant regulations. And I think more importantly, operating without a certificate could result in legal action against the operator and cause reputational damage to the wider industry. You can apply online for certification at tourismni.com/forms. And once we receive your application, we'll be in touch to arrange a mutually suitable date for the inspection. There are user-friendly guides on each of the accommodation categories available on tourismni.com, which detail the criteria for each category along with best practice advice. So it might be good to give them a read before you submit your application. The certification process does include a physical inspection of your property by a member of the Quality and Standards team. During the process, you can also avail of operational and marketing advice, and once you receive your certificate, it is valid for 4 years. Next slide, please, Barry. So today I'm going to discuss the importance of providing a giant welcome and creating a positive guest experience, and share some tips to hopefully spark some inspiration for you to consider to ensure that all guests do receive a warm welcome. A positive guest experience is essential for the success of any accommodation business, and it plays a critical role in shaping Northern Ireland as a must-see destination. So once your booking is confirmed, seize the opportunity to build a strong relationship with your guests by providing them with useful pre-arrival information. This really helps set the tone for a welcoming and positive time during their stay. So you have been a guest before one time, so think about any learnings or tips you have taken from your own experiences and incorporate that into your business. You can send guests pre-arrival information via WhatsApp, email, text or voice note, whichever works best for you, to ensure that the communication is seamless from the offset. Think about what type of information would be useful for guests to be aware of in advance, and keep the information short and informative at this stage. So you could include things like check-in times. If you can be flexible with the booking, say so at this time. That's really useful and guests appreciate that. If you don't offer a meet and greet and instead choose key collection, clearly stipulate to guests where they should receive the keys if it's via a letting agent or a lockbox. And if you are using a lockbox, ensure that the key code is activated and working, and that guests can easily retrieve the keys when they need to. It's also a good opportunity pre-arrival to reaffirm booking dates, the duration and the checkout time here as well. Include tips for your guests when they're visiting the area. Pre-arrival tips would be restaurant bookings in advance. If they're wanting to play any golf, definitely make those bookings in advance, and highlight that public transport will be operating on an event timetable and not just the standard one. Next slide, please, Barry. So the day of arrival then. So think about a giant welcome and how you can ensure that your guests receive one. A personal welcome is recommended on the day of arrival always. This really ensures that your guests are warmly received and that you can relay important information and answer any of their queries then and there. If you are offering a personal meet and greet, consider your guest's native language. Offer a multilingual welcome if that's applicable. We know the weather that we are hoping for in July, but we also prepare for 4 seasons in one day. So small things like having your heating turned on in advance of guest arrival via remote controls is a really nice touch and will be appreciated. Ensure that operating instructions for heating controls are available within the property to ensure everyone's comfort throughout their stay. If it's an evening arrival, consider exterior lighting as well as some ambient lighting within the property or within the bedroom, so turn on some lamps. And have storage areas for equipment prepared and ready for use straight away, and that could be for golf clubs, for prams, for families, bicycles, etc. Including a welcome basket is an excellent way to show thoughtfulness and consideration, and it can really make guests feel valued and appreciated right from the start. So some suggestions to include within the welcome basket could be a personalised welcome note, it could be a card or a letter, and it could be branded. Carmel will talk some more about the digital assets that are available to assist you here later on. You could also showcase local or home-baked goods, for example, wheaten bread, scones. You'll be amazed at the response to your home-baked goods, and you may even receive requests for recipes from your guests to allow them to recreate them at home, which is a lovely touch. Have any event information on hand and print it within your property or bedroom. Consider local businesses and how you can support each other. You know, for example, local eateries or takeaways. Could you partner for referrals or offer discount codes for your guests? Share the park and ride and bus stop location in relation to your property. Note any local taxi numbers, leave these handy within the property. And it's also really good, Portrush, Portstewart, it's quite easily accessible. So it's quite good to share walking distances from your property to local amenities. If you offer a TV sports package, say so and leave operating details on how to access and view them. Next slide, please, Barry. So during the guest stay, so ensure that you do have a comprehensive in-unit information folder available, which details operating instructions for all electrical equipment within the property, as well as useful information to ensure their comfort during their stay. You know, this might include details on what days are the bins collected, or that a gardener calls every Thursday. Personalise the in-unit information folder. We're delighted to welcome you, Mr. Smith. Here's some useful information to assist you during your stay. And if you can't find the information you need, please just ask. Have your phone number along with the Wi-Fi details on the front cover of the in-unit information folder. You could include tailored itineraries of each day's golf and think about after golf events. So what's on in the area for families or groups of guests to enjoy? And again, tailor that to whoever your guests are. Could you engage with local attractions or activities to perhaps support each other via referrals or discount codes? Collaboration is key here to showcase the entire area and the community spirit of Northern Ireland businesses. Think about what recommendations you like to do within the area yourself. Personal recommendations are always well received by guests, so don't be scared to share them. Next slide, please, Barry. So I know that many of you on here are considering only letting your property for the open, although you may find that you really enjoy this venture and decide to let it for the longer term. So considerations should be given to post-departure feedback. This is an area that can often be overlooked. However, it is a vital tool to assist you with the ongoing management of guest expectations and the marketing of your accommodation. Do not be scared to ask your guests, how was your stay? You can do this again by email, WhatsApp, a survey in the property, face-to-face on departure, whatever works best for you. Seeking feedback is crucial as it will help you identify areas for improvement, enhance guest satisfaction and build loyalty. It will provide you with valuable insights into guest preferences and experiences and enable you to tailor your services to meet their needs and not just manage but exceed their expectations. Additionally, positive feedback can be used to attract new guests and strengthen your reputation, so ask guests to leave online reviews. Incorporating social media content opportunities into your guest arrival can significantly enhance guest engagement. Design areas within your property with golf-themed decor that are perfect for photographs. Think about unique backdrops, imagery. Another shout out for Carmel here, she'll talk some more about this later on. Think about any props and lighting that will encourage guests to take pictures and share them on social media, and encourage them to use the hashtag #TheOpen. User-generated content can be a powerful tool for building trust and authenticity, but do remember to seek approval from guests for you to share their images and encourage guests to upload to their social channels too. I hope that was useful and provided you with some inspiration. Please do feel free to reach out to the team for any aspect on customer service within accommodation or any queries relating to certification. Thank you very much for your time. I'm going to hand over to George Diamondes, our Golf Marketing Manager.
Thanks very much, Claire, and great to be with you, everybody. My name is George Diamondes. I'm the Golf Marketing Manager here at Tourism NI, and I'll just give you a quick overview of the golf visitor who we expect to come for the week of the Open, but also that travels here on an annual basis to the summer season to play golf in Northern Ireland. Next slide there, Barry, please. So as Siobhan mentioned at the start of the webinar today, be very conscious that when we talk about the Open and the visitors that will be coming to visit us, it's not for the championship week itself. The the majority of the work will start at the beginning of April. So the build will start on Royal Portrush itself, and we'll start seeing contractors come in, and those numbers will steadily build right up until July, when right in the weeks preceding the event, we'll have up to 1,000 contractors based in and around the North Coast who will be carrying out work on site. We also have RNA staff that will be coming over and doing site inspections to make sure that the work is continuing to schedule. And then for the week itself, we'll have event staff such as the RNA, Tourism Northern Ireland staff will be there, and then the corporate sponsors. So we'll have the likes of the patrons of the RNA, like Lomond Distilleries or Nikon, and they will have staff that will be being present at the Open and hosting some of their key clients as well. In terms of spectators, we're expecting increased numbers of what we had back in 2019. So we're looking forward to welcoming a lot more people to the championship this year round. And then, of course, you've got players, their families and staff, such as caddies, coaches, and in some cases, physios or doctors that will travel with them at the same time. Following the conclusion of the championship, then we'll look at the event being the breakdown of the facilities at Royal Portrush. So again, the contractors will be in for a good number of weeks following the event, and we'll be requiring accommodation and eating in local cafes and restaurants at the same time as well. Next slide, please, Barry. So to give an overview of how the ticketing works, I'll run through this very quickly because I'm aware some of you might have been on the previous webinar we had. But there's a number of different ways that spectators will get tickets to attend the championship. The first is through the authorized provider program. So there are a number of official ticket package providers that will sell both general admission and hospitality packages, and these will be packaged up in a deal. So they'll typically have accommodation and transport included, and these are typically overseas people. So you'll have people from not only from the UK in GB, but also from across the world who will rely on a tour operator that'll package up their experience for them. People who go through the authorized provider program will not be subject to the ballot. So you'll tend to find that they will have the selected days that they want. So they might come in for 3 or 4 days in a row, but as they're not looking for a ballot entry, they'll be able to select which days they want to attend. When it comes to the ballot, the vast majority of spectators will apply for the tickets through the ballot system. It's open to all One Club members, and the One Club's free to join. And you would have applied for your tickets in the conclusion of last year's championship, and all ballots were issued by the end of September last year. On the little right-hand side, I've got a breakdown of where the members of the One Club originate from. So you can see the vast majority of them, 70%, will come from the UK and Ireland, nearly 20% from the US and Canada, and then a slightly smaller number across Europe and into Australia and South Africa as well. With a lot of the ballots ticket holders, they will have got tickets on multiple days, but not on successive days, which is fantastic for us, because then we can say we'll be encouraging visitors to come out and look at spending more time off the golf course and potentially playing golf in and around Northern Ireland and into Donegal as well. The Ticket Plus option is a product that sits in between hospitality and the ballot system. So essentially, it's a general admission ticket with a couple of extra perks, such as your private seating area and restrooms. But more importantly, you missed the ballot. So Ticket Plus options were sold out a couple of months back. So all of those tickets have been allocated. And then the final way to get access to the championship is through the premium experiences. So anyone would be able to log on to the Open website and choose one of the premium experiences, which are basically the hospitality packages. And again, those will run from Wednesday right through to Sunday. And the vast majority of those are sold out. There still are pockets of availability for a number of the days. Traditionally, these would be normally taken by corporate clients, but with the RNA have started to find that there's a lot more spectators that are coming, maybe multi-generational family groups or groups of friends celebrating a big birthday milestone, and taking a handful of tickets and coming with a group of friends. Next slide, please, Barry. So just a couple of some of the considerations for when the spectators and when looking at positioning your accommodation or your services to people who are traveling over to watch the Open. Most of the spectators will have access to tickets. The official resale platform has been opened by the RNA at the moment. You're able to log on if you just do a Google search. I checked it yesterday. There were no championship days tickets, but a substantial amount of tickets up for resale on the practice days. You'll tend to find the majority of these will probably be taken up by the domestic market, but likewise, you might have people coming over, staying for a few days and didn't get a day on a weekday that they would have preferred, and they're able to rebook some tickets that way. So be mindful, there will still be pockets of people coming in and looking to purchase tickets on the resale platform. The primary reason over that week of the Open for spectators or for people to travel to Northern Ireland will be to watch the Open. There is on average, if you're looking at the tee sheets across a number of golf courses, they're not as full as what they usually be over the summer season. And what we find is that there are a lot of people that travel to Northern Ireland to play golf, but in this occasion, they'll be looking to attend and spectate the Open Championship itself. So with these people, always consider the long-term relationships. They might not be on the golf course to play golf this summer, but a vast majority of them, particularly across the UK and Great Britain, will come back to Northern Ireland to visit again and play golf in future seasons. Next slide, please. So I just want to cover on some broadly generic information on the annual golf visitor. On the Tourism NI website, you'll be able to find out a more comprehensive report, which is our Golf Tourism Monitor. And this outlines who the traveling visitor is, how much they spend, where they come from, and the length of stay. So this year, we're busy finalizing the research from the 2024 season, but golf tourism has surpassed an annual value to Northern Ireland of over £70 million for the first time. So it is a substantial part of our tourism portfolio to Northern Ireland, particularly considering the number of visitors that'll come here to play golf. On average, we're a little over 20,000 visitors. Last year 2023 was one of the highest we had on record, with 29,000 visitors that came here to play golf. And this is a mix between all our key markets. To broadly look at the markets, you could segment it into the North Americans and pretty much everybody else. And that is purely down to the type of golf that people want to play and how much they tend to spend on their trips while they're here. Next slide, please. So a couple of insights we had from the 2023 Golf Tourism Monitor is that the strongest demand from is from a high-value market, the US. The American visitor is predominantly here to play links golf, and that's one of our 5 links clubs along the coast. More than 87% of golf played by a North American visitor in 2023 was on a links golf course, and that's purely because they don't have links product like we have back at home. The spend remains high, and a lot of that is benefited by the current exchange rate. But important to clarify, the Americans, whilst they do come here on a bucket list trip and are not shy to dig deep into their pockets, this is predominantly due to the current economic situation in the US, and we potentially could be at risk of that if should anything change, particularly around the value of the sterling to the US dollar. The majority of American visitors, there's been a substantial growth in the use of tour operators from American visitors. So that's grown up to nearly 43% in 2023. And that is purely because of visitors wanting a professional to take care of the itinerary and secure the tee times in a manner that suits their golfing itinerary. When looking at our other 2 key markets, GB would be classified as our second most important market. They're focused on value for money. We tend to find the British visitor would not be, their trip to Northern Ireland would not be their first golfing trip of the year. So they tend to look at the shoulder seasons, and they tend to really assist with the regional spread and a bigger appetite to play park and golf. The highest proportion of those visitors tend to be slightly younger, so between 40 and 49 years of age. And which was quite surprising for us is the propensity for annual visits. Over 65% of those surveyed in 2023 had visited again in 2022. So that's showing the work we put in over the pandemic to really invest in the GB market, to promote Northern Ireland as a close to home destination. But we're great to see that the work that's been done from the industry on the ground is giving them a great experience, and we want to come back and experience it year on year. There's a lot of similarities between the Republic of Ireland and the EU market. I would just say that the main differentiation is that the EU market will tend to stay, or the EU visitor will tend to stay there a little bit longer. The Republic of Ireland visitor will tend to be a day trip or a single overnighter, or tend to stay with friends. But they tend to play a lot more resort golf than the other markets. So the likes of Galgorm, Temple Patrick, at Kingfisher Estate, or Lochern will get a lot of the more European and Republic of Ireland visitors. And the preference from both those markets is again links golf, but the split is very, very even. It was close to 50%, it was around 46, 48% in favor of links golf, but a nice even spread across all parkland and links golf courses from both the Europeans and the Republic of Ireland market. And not surprisingly, 75% of the visitors tend to plan their own travel, so they won't book through a tour operator. So for you as a provider, having a good social presence and having your details updated to the Tourism NI website will help them find out about your business and be able to book through you directly. Next slide there, please, Barry. So just to give you an understanding of when I said we split the market by the USA or North America and everybody else, here you can see a breakdown on the right-hand side of the number of visitors that came in 2023 from the various markets, and a relatively even split. The highest number of visitors is the orange from the US, 9,300 visitors, but contributed significantly more when it comes to the spend into the economy. Roughly the same amount of visitors from GB, but just under 1/3 of the spend that you would have had from the North American visitor. So the high value American visitor, they're traveling a little bit further. This is a bucket list experience for them, but the rest of the world will tend to come back a lot sooner. So the Americans do tend to come back very often, but probably once every 3 to 5 years, where GB and Europeans will probably come back every 1 to 2 years. So be very, very mindful. The relationship that you'll build from the visitors that will be coming over to the championship might necessarily not have been to Northern Ireland before, and that gives you an opportunity to encourage them to come back, stay and play golf when they're here. If you're having any visitors that are looking to fill their gaps when they're not at the championship themselves, do visit the TNI website. We'll have a full listing of golf clubs that are available in your area. Or if you need any help, feel free to reach out to us in the golf team, and we can create or make those introductions to the local golf clubs, that you can look after your guests by getting them onto the golf courses while they're over here and they have time to play. And be mindful, a lot of golf visitors might be coming with their own clubs, so take that in consideration with storage within the property, and also drying facilities if anyone wants to have any of their wet gear dried off after a rainy day on the course. That's it from me. Feel free to reach out at any stage to us if you'd like some more information. And I'd like now to hand you over to Carmel, who is from our agency TWBA, and will share some of our assets that are available for you to use.
Thank you, George. Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Carmel Scott, and I am the marketing partner for Tourism Northern Ireland. Next slide, please, Barry. So Tourism Northern Ireland have created a suite of marketing assets to help industry and or partners to get involved with the 153rd Open and provide a giant welcome to Northern Ireland. Some of you will be aware that only official licensed partners who have been given consent to do so can make use of the Open brand. So what you'll see presented here today is a mix of Embrace a Giant Spirit, which of course communicates the giant visitor welcome, and then Northern Ireland Made for Golf, which really helps us reinforce Northern Ireland's credentials as a world-class golfing destination. So the assets that I'm going to talk you through here today include some guidance on language, some downloadable posters, menu templates, social media assets, and some little badges that can be used across social media or indeed on uniform signage, menus, posters, etc. Next slide, please, Barry. So to get us started here, this is just a little summary really of how really from now you can get your business involved with the 153rd Open. The first thing that you can do is to have a think about event themed offers and visitor opportunities. So these are things from, specific menu items. We've talked a bit about open sandwiches, tea time specials, maybe specific cocktail menus. It's things that, that are applicable to your business and allows you just to feel involved with the run up and the actual event itself. The second thing is just to have fun, I suppose. Through this toolkit, you'll see that we have given you some really fun ways to lean into some golf language. And what I would say is just, have a think about what could potentially work for your business. So anything from, creating special themed ice creams, desserts, cocktails that maybe are truly inspired by golf, just to appeal to our visitors and really deliver that visitor welcome that only we can do here in Northern Ireland. Obviously, try to, whilst you celebrate the event in your own way, make sure that we showcase, I suppose, the prestige of hosting the 153rd Open in Royal Portrush. And then the final way is, and both Claire and Siobhan have touched on this in their earlier presentations, is around inspiring visitors and golfing visitors to do much more whenever they are here in Northern Ireland. Both Causeway, Coast and Glens Borough Council and Tourism Northern Ireland have created a series of itineraries which allow you to, which are there, I suppose, for you to share if you want to encourage those visitors that if they are only here for, that they're only at the event 1 or 2 days, that we're making sure that in those days in between that we're pushing them out through Causeway, Coast and Glens and beyond. Next slide, please, Barry. So let's kick off then with looking at some golf-themed language that you could use to promote your own business. So the first one here is make the first tee a good one. So you could imagine if you're maybe a B&B owner and you've decided to offer breakfast maybe from very early in the morning for your golfing visitors, you could use this. get into the swing of things. So again, this could be used to talk about, I suppose, anything associated with the 19th hole, talk about entertainment, music, and hospitality, all those things that we do so well, and we get wonderful feedback from our visitors. The other example here is sometimes it's good to spend time in the sand. So if you're maybe a local hotel, you could use this to talk about, not only how close you are to Royal Portrush, but talk about the lovely beaches that are on our doorstep here in Northern Ireland. So lots of scope for you to use these in your own marketing material and your messaging. Next slide, please, Barry. So just to get started with the creative elements, I've gone first for just good old honest posters, because I think this is a really simple way of everyone starting now to get involved. It's interesting to hear that, that there'll be people on site now over the next couple of weeks. Tourism Northern Ireland as well will be starting to communicate that giant welcome message now across April and May. So it would be wonderful to see the industry start to do the same. One of the really simple ways that you can do this is we have created this poster. So the poster here, really what you do is you just go in and add your own logo to it. So whether you just want to use it as a poster format, whether you want to use it in a social media post, just there's lots of scope here. At the end, I'll talk you through how you can download and access these assets. The second two examples are, just if you're creating anything golf themed, maybe it's menus, maybe you're already talking about availability and encouraging people to make restaurant bookings. Now, lots of scope here for being able to use these across your business. Next slide, please, Barry. So there's two themes to the creative suites that I am going to talk you through. The first one is this giant welcome. So as I talked about, I think that it would be absolutely brilliant that we start to see this now filter out as work begins on site. And we would really encourage you just to use some of the assets now that I'm going to talk through in order to deliver that message. Next slide, please, Barry. So one of the really simple and effective ways of doing this is through your social media. I know a lot of hospitality businesses, especially those restaurants, bars, it's Instagram and Facebook. People will be coming on, visitors will be, logging on and looking at availability, looking to see if there's special menus and special offers across not only the week itself, but in the weeks running up to the 153rd Open. So this is just an example of Facebook cover photo. So all you need to do is, again, we have created it in a way that you can just drop your own assets in here. The images that you see throughout here are images that have been supplied and approved by the RNA for use. So again, we'll supply all of those just as images on their own, whether you want to use them with the artwork that we've worked up here or you want to use them for your own use. Next slide, please, Barry. So as I mentioned, we know Instagram is probably an effective channel for the hospitality industry. So we have worked up some artwork here that can be used either. So you can use this as an opening frame, or you can use it, as an end frame and then use your content in between. So say, for example, you were already talking about your restaurant availability and you were looking to get bookings in from now. You could use one of these frames in the first frame and then include your menu or your availability or your contact details in the following frames. So it's just a nice way to tie your business in with the 153rd Open and also communicate that giant welcome. You'll see just on the right hand side that I've included just a note here to say that the Tourism NI social content team, they obviously will have a full content plan both in the run-up and during the event itself. So they are looking for your content, so whether that is live entertainment, whether that is availability, So just make sure and use that hashtag NI Made for Golf, and the team will be able to pick that up and share it on the TNI social channels. Next slide, please, Barry. So these are, I suppose, just different iterations of what you have seen before, but I just love the full screen options here. And same thing again, you can use them by themselves. You can use even just the message, if you want to just use the message. Again, it's there in the toolkit, just as words for you to use. But again, highly flexible in terms of communicating that giant welcome or communicating your offering for the golfing visitor. Next slide, please, Barry. So as Siobhan mentioned, it's vitally important that we are communicating the wider destination message and showcasing all the wonderful things there is to see and do along the Causeway Coastal Route and beyond. So again, this is just carousels are a brilliant I suppose format for being able to do this, because they allow us to carry just a number of images and messages. So again, these are editable. You can choose your own images. It would be lovely to see, local hotels, restaurants, retailers included here. And really what it does is just packages up, I suppose, everything that's on offer to the golfing visitor in Portrush and beyond. Next slide, please. And these are, again, very simple, but I think really effective. So a bit like Claire was saying, in talking about, maybe your reception area, and creating, whether that's displays or artwork for your visitors to take photos with and to interact with. I suppose these can be applied to anything. We've designed them in that way so that they are flexible, so that you can use them, whether that's on your social assets. You can use them as little badges, little welcome badges themselves for your staff. You can use them on posters, menus, but I just think it's a lovely way just to communicate that giant welcome to the Open. Next slide, please, Barry. So then this second suite of creative is really a way that we can showcase our giant spirit to our potential golf visitors by telling them that we are open ready. So I suppose what this demonstrates is that not only are we absolutely delighted to welcome the golf visitors, but we've made so many extra efforts in the background to make sure that we are ready for their visit. Next slide, please, Barry. So similar to what you've seen above, which ties into the giant welcome message, again, you'll see a common theme here that we have worked up a variety of assets that you can use across your own marketing materials. So again, little badges here, highly flexible, can be used across a range of assets. Next slide, Barry. And again, back to that point that, here in Northern Ireland, there's just so much for visitors to explore. So, these assets, whether, they promote golf or they promote that wider visitor destination, I suppose they work with that we are open ready message. Next slide, please, Barry. And I think these, again, to leave you with some content and language that you could potentially use across your own assets. So again, highly flexible, and that you can use some of our suggested golf images at the top, but at the bottom it would be lovely that if you did have live entertainment or you had a special dish created or a special ice cream, that this is a lovely way then to showcase the link between the two. So experience some epic swings, go from fairway to causeway in no time. So again, that's a lovely way of communicating. Did you know we're only a 20-minute drive, for example, from Royal Portrush. Here it's hard to get under par. So again, that could lean into and allow you to deliver, I suppose, a variety of messages. And the next slide, please. So finally, what I would say is that all of these assets have been developed as inspiration and a guide. I suppose they're a way of us trying to galvanise the industry for us all to show golfing, not only the golfing visitors, as Siobhan pointed out, but those that are now starting to work on site and that are highly focused on the delivery of the event, that here in Northern Ireland, the industry, are delighted to issue a giant welcome, and that also we are ready and open for their business. So I think with those bespoke creative strands, there should be lots of scope there for you using these assets across your own marketing activity. But as I say, it is just for inspiration. And feel free to use, as I say, whether it's just the language you want to use. We would love that people, of course, use Northern Ireland Embrace a Giant Spirit, and they use Northern Ireland Made for Golf just to reinforce that golf message. So all the assets that you see here today are available to download from the Tourism Northern Ireland content pool. And the links are here. The full presentation is available, as well as the layered files for businesses to use the artwork. So those of you with a bit of experience on Canva or whatever, please feel free to edit and use those in your own way. So I have supplied my details there, and please feel free to reach out if there's anything else that you feel isn't here and that you would love to use. Please feel free to reach out. And then I've also linked Kathy if you have any issues or you haven't registered for Content Pool before. It is an easy process, and Kathy will help you through that. So thank you so much. I hope you will have found benefit in what I presented, and I can't wait to see some of the assets on some of your social channels and in your premises. I'll now hand over to Johnny from Causeway Coast and Glens Borough Council.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you very much, Carmel. I spent some time this morning with Carmel, being able to have the opportunity to go through the toolkit, and everyone at Council was really encouraged by it. I can see lots and lots of opportunities for usage, so much appreciated, and thank you very much for that. I just wanted to be jumping on today to take the opportunity to highlight just some of the core areas in which Council are busily working away in the background in terms of our preparedness for the Open and ensuring that the event can be as absolutely successful as it possibly can be. So I'm just going to touch through a couple of the main work streams that we're working on. I'll highlight with a few extra points at the end. So first and foremost, I wanted to just touch on the first work stream, which is about tourism and promotion. So through the tourism and promotion strand, we're really working on events, concerts, activities, shows, etc., which will be going on and animating Portrush Town and the surrounding areas during the championship week. We're also focusing on dressing and branding of the town, the ulterior routes, the local area, and all the different potential travel options into town. We're also looking and working closely with our destination tourism marketing team. They have updated their Visit Causeway site. They've got a really great new section on there in terms of being able to assist and direct the Gulf visitor to our wonderful part of the world. And that's an area of our website, of Visit Causeway, I'd really like to promote. And we're also working hard with working in collaboration with local businesses and local venues, local pubs, restaurants, etc., in terms of helping them and advising them in terms of promotion of the kind of events and offerings that they're going to be having themselves. The second area I kind of wanted to touch on was about it's called continuity and presentation. That's a really, really important area for Council. Really, in terms of continuity and presentation, it's all about ensuring that the town, the immediate area, and the area surrounding it works and continues to function as normally as possible. Now, I appreciate that that's going to be relatively difficult, but when we have consideration of some important things such as waste, bins, health visits, services, deliveries, etc., we need to ensure that there's a normal level of service delivered to our citizens and residents and visitors, and a lot of that happens as seamlessly as possible. So there's a lot of activity going on in the background to ensure that all those key important health related things do continue to go on. And really the key behind continuity and presentation is that the routes in, the area surrounding and the town itself look and are presented as cleanly and as good and as perfectly as it possibly can be. This space that we have when you're in Portrush and you look around along the coast, we have $1 million backdrop everywhere. We want to ensure that when the folk are standing on the ground looking at that backdrop, that they're also feeling that they're in a really well maintained and welcoming place, just to ensure that it gives that sense and vibe of encouragement to come back. The third kind of theme I really wanted to touch on was traffic and transport. It's an area that council are working really closely with the RNA and stakeholders involved in. It's all about how everyone gets to and from the town and the course safely. I'm not joking when I say planes, trains and automobiles, helicopters, all possible kinds and varieties of mechanisms of transport that you can imagine, ranging from parking spaces, park and ride, all the provision around that, timetabling for trains and buses, etc., and then just ensuring that smooth flow of people from the buses, from the trains, from their cars to and from the course. It's an awful lot of people. We're talking about a town of 60,000 people, about over the space of the week. There's 250,000 folk coming in here, so we're really trying to manage that footprint and that movement, with the priority always being around the health and safety of the individuals there, and that's really, really key and important to us. And that's the traffic and one of the traffic and transport vibes. I wanted to speak as well a little bit about open engagement days. I think it was mentioned earlier on, working closely with the RNA and TNI, we were able to facilitate a good open day there, engagement session last Wednesday, the 19th in Portrush Town Hall. I know there was about 250 attendees, about 75 different representatives from across 66 different businesses. That was an opportunity to try and just get in quite early and provide people with information about what is going to be happening, opportunities for them to get involved, how they can work collaboratively, but trying to build that stream of information as early and as locally as possible. That was a relatively really well received day, and that day itself will be repeated in May in probably a similar format. But what I would like to highlight as well, I suppose, is that from May onwards, there's going to be a much more regular, we're kind of calling open mornings. So it'll be either morning, short period of time, an hour, a couple of hours at a time, programmed in Portrush Town Hall in one of the smaller rooms downstairs, where there will be a representative from the RNA and occasionally myself as well, there on hand. If anybody who's a local community member, local citizen, local business wants to come in and ask some questions, raise a point, get some information, we will be there in person to try and do that. So that's really starting from early May onwards, and we hope that will be a mechanism that is appreciated and well used. Learning the lessons from previous, where people really expressed to ourselves that they really appreciated the ability to speak directly to folk, and so we will be rolling that out from early May onwards. In terms of council's relationships it has across the other major towns, every town has council town forums. Those are meeting more regularly, and each of them tend to have their own open approach to how they would like to assist, get involved, work closely with. Council as well, I suppose, and I'm overloading you with information here, but Council itself as well, of course, has its Go Succeed programme. Programme is all about accelerated growth for businesses, and there'll be plenty of mechanisms through that in which we'll be able to and be keen to work with the businesses to help themselves through the Go Succeed programme to take the next step in terms of helping their business grow and using the open as a springboard towards that. Even on the back end of that as well, I suppose there's other things going on. I could list you lots and lots, but there's even plans for like sporting events, and we're going to be doing lots of work with schools and with local groups and with local youth organisations, golf coaching, sports coaching, etc., just trying to create that fully rounded picture that we can and encourage well-being and activity and getting outside, and any opportunities that we can, we're going to be pushing those as much as possible. Those will really be kicking off from Easter holidays onwards. And the final kind of element I really wanted to touch on was our local visitor information centres that we have across resort towns and our major towns. These are really good central points of information for what's going on locally, in terms of directing your visitors or directing people towards. So what's going on locally, how to book accommodation, how to get about, ideally for things to do in those in-between days when potentially you're not at the course, and or if you're here visiting and your other family members are off at the course, but you don't have an interest in golf, well, there's plenty of other things around here for us to provide for you. So I really wanted to promote the local visitor information centres as areas for you all to direct any inquiries towards. Okay, well, that's probably enough from myself here. I just wanted to, I'm really grateful for having had those couple of minutes to just update you on a few of the elements that Council is currently working on in the background. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Johnny. I think it's me now, yeah. So I really hope that you've picked up some useful tips and hints and ideas and inspiration on how to make the Return of the Open a great event for our visitors, for the players, for the R&A and the staff delivering the event, but for yourselves as well. I think there has been some really good points actually, and it's made me think, and never mind anyone else. I think it's been so important, the continuing and repeated message about making sure that there's lots for our visitors to see and do wrapped around the golf, and not just about those who are going to attend and spectate. Thinking back to 2019, a personal example is I have a caravan in Ballycastle, and I was up north. There was 4 of us, 2 went to the golf and 2 of us didn't, and we were looking for something to do, and we ended up doing a tour, and we went out, and then we also toured the hostelries and the eating establishments as well. So we found that on social media, and that's exactly what we need to make sure that we have for all the visitors that come. There's lots of other things for them to do, not just assuming that they'll go to the golf, but obviously wrapped around the golf as well, and make sure we all know we're open for business. The whole, that whole triangle and the whole North Coast is open for business. Another really important point actually was around, George mentioned about the number of contractors and R&A staff and supplier staff that are over from really April onwards, and that really is ramping up. And to bring that to life, today the new chief executive of the R&A is over. He's up north with a whole load of senior stakeholders. They stayed over, they ate last night, they're out and about today. They're exploring and experiencing what the north has to offer. So again, I think there's something in that too, to make sure that, well, I suppose we have to just always consider, we never know who we're talking to, we never know who we're serving that cup of coffee to. We just want to make sure that we do give them that great experience. And it might be worth, if you think you do have contractors or anyone involved in the events day, and it might be worth even looking them up. I'm not saying and recommending that we all stalk all these the R&A staff, but essentially it's always great just to have a bit of an idea who you're talking to and show that you've made that bit of an effort. So it's been great, Carolyn. Thank you so much for showing us through the industry toolkit. As Carolyn said, that's a live document, and so keep referring to it online. And as new information is updated, Johnny mentioned the traffic and transport plans. It will be very much being kept as a live document. So do keep referring back to it and make sure your staff are aware of it as well. And it will have information on that, customer service training days, future recruitment days, not just for the R&A, absolute taste with the hospitality and catering, but anything else that we find out will be either in the toolkit or on our website, and we'll make sure we will very much share with yourselves as much information as possible. So thank you so much. I think I'm handing over to Patricia now for any questions.
Thank you so much, Siobhan, and thanks so much to all our speakers this afternoon. So just a reminder at this stage, because it's been loads and loads of information, we will be sharing a recording of today's live presentation along with a link to the slides, so you can review those again at your leisure and take it piece by piece. So I'll shortly be kicking off a Q&A session, and if you have any questions you haven't popped into the chat just yet, there's still time to do that if you want to pop anything in there at the moment, and we'll get through as much as we can here this afternoon before we finish up. Just before we get stuck into your questions, I'm going to do a couple of very quick polls just to get a feel for how useful you found today's session so far. So the first one should be on your screen just now. How beneficial did you find today's session on a scale of 1 to 5? So that's with 5 being very beneficial. I'll just give you a moment to complete that. We've such great numbers signed up for today, so it's fab to see so much interest. So I'll give you a wee second to fill that in. Okay, and our second question is, how would you rate today's webinar? And that's in terms of timeliness to be hearing this information. Again, on a scale of 1 to 5. Okay, thank you. And our last question is just a very simple yes or no. We ask this at all of our webinars. Do you plan to take any action within your business as a direct result of what you've heard from our speakers so far today? I'll just give you all a chance to reflect on that. And as you're voting there, I'll just remind you that we will, of course, be sending a link to an evaluation form, which will have some open-ended questions and give you an opportunity to give some other feedback about how you find today's session, but also what you'd like to see or hear about in order to help you best prepare for the Open Championship this year. So we really, really value your feedback and your suggestions. So if you do get a chance, once you get that link through in your inbox, we'd really appreciate it if you could take a couple of minutes to complete that for us. Okay, now let's get stuck into some of your questions. I'm going to invite back all of our speakers. So just a reminder who we have today. We've got Siobhan McGuigan, who's our head of events, Carolyn Boyd, our industry development manager. We've got Claire McNaughton, our accommodation certification manager. We have Carmel Scott from TBWA, our design agency. We have also then Johnny McCarran from Causeway Coast and Glens Borough Council. So I'll just let everybody get their cameras on. And George, apologies, we have George as well, our golf marketing manager. How could I forget you, George? Apologies. Okay, so thank you so much. We have quite a few questions through already, so we'll get stuck straight into those. Claire, do you mind if I come to you first? And someone was wondering how much notice is needed to arrange an inspection for a new holiday let. Would you be able to advise on that?
Thanks, Patricia. So firstly, get your application form in ASAP. The wait list is minimum of 4 weeks, maximum of 8. But the sooner we have it, the better, because it's after that we arrange the date and we try to make it suit both yourself and ourselves. So don't delay, get the form in as soon as.
That's brilliant. Sticking with yourself, Claire, is there a list of accommodation provided to events participants and organisers at all?
So not necessarily list, Patricia, but ensure that your accommodation is onboard it to Tourism NI and that you're advertising on Discover. That's a free advertising platform. You can update it with imagery, some text about your property, and you can update availability there as well. So make sure that you have onboard it with ourselves. Yeah, that's probably the best.
So, and that's the best way to advise of availability as well, Claire, then, is it? Yeah.
Yeah. You can also advertise that yourself. So depending on what social channels that you're using, if it's Facebook or Instagram, for example, you might want to just pop up some posts to say that there's still availability over whatever dates. Make it as informative as possible, include a price and how to book. And yeah, that should make it as easy as possible to book, I suppose, is the message there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, don't put any blockers in the way. That sounds great. Absolutely. So someone was wondering here, while visiting the North Coast, will the visitors be interested in seeing the local tourist attractions? I know, Siobhan, you had touched on that, but Carmel, would you like to jump in at all on that?
Yeah, I think given that, that some people will only get tickets to maybe 1 or 2 and they're not consecutive days, I do believe there's a big opportunity to showcase everything that we have along the Causeway Coastal route. As I mentioned, probably one of the best ways to do that is through the itineraries, and I see just someone has asked a question in terms of where you find those itineraries. You can find those so on discovernorthernireland.com there is a dedicated 153rd Open landing page, and those itineraries are linked there. So I would that would probably be the best place to go. We'll continue to add to those, but there's different itineraries built there, whether you have 24 hours or 48 hours to spare. But definitely, I think it's an opportunity to promote Causeway, everything there is to see and do, and in that area and beyond.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Carmel. Johnny, if I could come to you at this stage, we have someone who was wondering if there would be any platform for displaying local and unique gifts during this time. Is there anything you can update on that?
Yeah, I think certainly one of the mechanisms that people could explore for that is our local visitor information centres. they are keen to, they have the ability and the facility to do that. In some of their locations, they're also they have the ability to like locally promote them digitally in terms of imaging and information, etc. But from a council perspective, that's certainly one of the areas we would be able to provide for that. Absolutely.
Okay, very good. And then actually, we have a couple of people who've been asking this question, is sort of about how will the message of Portrush is open for business, how will that be conveyed to traditional holiday makers and sort of day-to-day locals, I suppose, as well. Are you able to feed in on that at all?
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that that was one of the biggest points. That kind of when I came away from the engagement day there last week, that was one of the biggest questions and one of the most important things that was talked about. And I fully agree, absolutely fully agree. So there's in terms of that, yes, between ourselves and between TNI and between the RNA and between all of our different partners, it's a real strong message to get out that Portrush as a town is absolutely open for business during the whole championship week. We've been exploring all the different mechanisms and routes we can go through that: website, social media. We've explored using localized newspaper, localized radio, and then sharing it with our partners. We've also explored the possibility of some broadcast news incidents. We've been approached about that. We'd be keen to, take up any opportunity around that. Just basically around that option about what we're putting on and how we're looking to like ensure that Portrush is definitely open. What I would say as well is that, and then reflecting on everything that's in the toolkit, there's a shared responsibility here as well, and we'd really be asking everyone to be trying to do their part as much as possible. So if you are a local business, if you are a local hotelier, if you are a local restaurant, there's lots of tools there. There's lots of advice there in terms of how you also get that message out as well. We, as a statutory and support and stakeholder agencies, will do as much as we possibly can. But certainly, we would encourage everyone to just try and have their bit, utilize the wonderful information there is within the toolkit, to try and promote that and give that message out through your own channels as well, because that sometimes can be just as, if sometimes not even more powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. Super. Okay, thank you so much. I'm not sure if anyone else, Carmel, or you'd like to add anything to that. I don't know, maybe in relation to the toolkit, Johnny's maybe covered it all.
Yeah, it's probably just to reinforce what Johnny is saying. From a tourism NI marketing perspective, we have spring campaign at the minute, and then we would normally have our always on activity across channels like social and PR running right across the summer. So again, we'll make sure that Portrush is open for business message is incorporated into those channels and that activity.
Mm-hmm. And someone's also wondering here which television stations will be broadcasting coverage of the golf around the world. As anyone, would you be aware of that, Carmel or Siobhan? Does anybody know that at this stage?
I know just that the RNA have particular partnerships that they negotiate with certain broadcasters. I'm not sure who those are, but I'm sure the RNA would have that information.
Yeah, I suppose is that general message though that we're going to be on the global stage, and that's the massive opportunity that we have here. Absolutely. And someone was wondering here about if there are any advertising or promotional opportunities at the Open itself. I know the RNA, they obviously have their direct partnerships. I'm not sure, Siobhan, if you have any thoughts on that, or...
I think it's one of those things, if they're talking sort of inside the ropes, the opportunities in fairness are probably minimal because there are so many restrictions in terms of partnerships and sponsorships that they already have in place. Rest assured that we are all banging that local drum and trying to, not battle is the wrong word, but we're trying to push for every opportunity that we probably can. But it's something I think even maybe with, we can have a wee chat, Carolyn, if there's something around, if there's anything else that we might need to add into the toolkit, just to not necessarily signpost to those, but just to provide a little bit more information around that. We're always happy to relook at the toolkit and make sure that it provides the information that everybody needs.
Absolutely. And in terms of food and drink provisions within inside the ropes, is that already all locked in? Now we have someone there who was wondering about opportunities on that in that area.
There's that still. There's been a good bit that is I suppose locked in, is only in terms of, you can imagine with the huge amount of
Mhm.
food that is required. I keep quoting this 20,000 sandwiches a day. I don't actually know if I've made that up, but I like the thought of 20,000 sandwiches a day and what that can look like. So we've been working really closely with Absolute Taste, who are in charge of the catering, but there's an element as well that the RNA look after. Plus, of course, there's going to be the campsite at the university at
Mhm. Mhm.
Ulster University, and there's a variety of different options that are available. So while yes, there's a good bit of the supply chain locked in, especially where it's huge quantities, and they needed to make sure that and explore with different suppliers to make sure that those quantities could be delivered against. There are still opportunities to be finalised. The menus, as of about 2 weeks ago, there were still some of the menus, particularly in corporate hospitality, that weren't nailed down yet. So we
Mhm.
have been working really closely and making sure that they let us know if they feel that there's going to be any gaps.
Okay.
So they committed to that. So over the next week or two, that's what we're hoping that we'll get, or has to have the chefs come up with some weird and wonderful dish, or something that they hadn't quite
Yeah.
anticipated, then that we can jump in and provide that signposting to. It's something that I'd be happy. Do you know why didn't he? We'll send after this in the post, in the email after. I'm just realizing we didn't even share that, or I didn't even share the email that we have. We have a 153rd open email address that I'll be
Oh,
happy
great.
to share, because if whoever asked the question even wants to drop me and my team a quick note, rest assured we are always happy to make sure that there are introductions made. As I say, there's no guarantee, it's not our decision, but we just always want to make sure that
Mhm.
that all our great food and drink opportunities are showcased.
Absolutely great. And anyone who has submitted a question here will be able to, in our post-event data, be able to pull off your details. So I'll ensure that that is shared. So that's super. Someone's wondering here about a recommendation of the number of nights that guests usually would stay, so to try and sort of maximise their opportunities around that. I don't know, is there an average around that, whether Claire or George, if you'd have any insights on that?
I can jump in there. So it all depends in this situation around the tickets that have been allocated. So if you've got a ticket on a Tuesday and a ticket on a Saturday, you'll tend to find they'll stay that full time. But just be mindful as well with the cost of accommodation, that makes it a bit prohibitive for some people. So if you're paying £300-400 a night and you've only got tickets on days that are maybe 4 or 5 days apart, they might either travel to other parts of Ireland to experience a holiday there, or if they're local to GB, they might just travel back on the event days. So it all just depends. On average, I think most people have been awarded about 2 tickets. So it'll tend to be about 3 to 4 days on the average day.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much. That's really helpful, George. Claire, I think this one would be for yourself. Someone's wondering, is there any planning permission for change of use needed for accommodation? Is there any
Yes.
advice you can give on that?
Thanks, Patricia. Yes, there may be, dependent on the type of accommodation that you are going for. So contact your council, the planning department. They look after that in the first instance. Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much to all of our speakers today, and thanks for all of your questions as well. It's been a really full session, and we're still in under the wire, not quite at 3:30 yet. So I'm going to take the opportunity to remind you, if you're not already signed up to tourismandI.com, please make sure you do so to make sure you don't miss out on hearing about any other upcoming opportunities and events or webinars, and that also will allow you to access our free dedicated e-learning platform to access the new Get Open Ready toolkit module, which I know Carolyn mentioned earlier. So I've also pulled together just a little slide of key useful links so that were mentioned today. So this will be in the PDF, which we'll share a link to you all with afterwards. So to access the toolkit, the Get Open Ready toolkit, and any kind of up-to-date details, if you go to tourismandI.com/the 153rd open, to access the open marketing assets that Carmel chatted us through, if you head to our content, the Northern Ireland content pool, so it's northernIrelandcontentpool.com. If you want to register for any of the Get Open Ready Big Hearted Customer Service training that Carolyn was chatting through, if you head to tourismandI.com/Get Open Ready, Obviously, you can find out more about our e-learning platform at tourismni.com/mytourismni. This is included within Claire's slides earlier in the session as well. But for more information or to apply for accommodation certification, and there's also details on our accommodation and visitor attraction grading schemes there. So head to tourismni.com/forums. And always my shameless plug for anything within our industry events program, head to tourismni.com/TED. I feel like I'm a forward slash. I'll be saying forward slash in my sleep tonight. But no, thank you so much to everyone that's joined us today. Thank you so much to all of our speakers. Thanks so much to the team at Eventful who've been behind the scenes moving all the slides and fielding all of your questions for us and keeping everything moving. And thanks to all of you who've joined us for today's session. I hope to welcome you all along to the next one in the near future. And yeah, thanks so much. Cheerio.